morning. Well, I just watched the news, which is on in the background, and saw Trump come back to the White House. Wow. Anybody who watches that must surely see what an ego-stroking maniac he is. I mean, they turned it into like a movie with flashy music and all that kind of thing. Oh, I survived COVID, so can you. It's not as bad as you think. We've got all this going on. The man's insane. Why can't anybody see it? Oh my word. So it is Tuesday and it's my weighing day. So today I used my new scales. I bought some Renfro ones from Amazon. They were recommended because my other ones weren't being very accurate and jumping all over the place. So I'm standing on them and they weren't quite right. And so today was my first weigh-in after last week's weigh-in. So with your first weigh-in, you're always going to expect to lose a little bit more weight because you're going to lose some water. So I lost 7.5 stone. I was shocked because normally I only lose about 4. So also I used a new app this week. It's called James Academy or something to work out my TDEE, which gives me more of an accurate representation of what I should be eating calories wise, and also let me know what protein I should be eating. They focus more on your protein and calories than they do on your fat and carbohydrates. So they recommend that you have at least 40% is your protein, and then you split, or you can split however you want to, your carbohydrates and your fat. And they put my calories really high, which I questioned in the group that I'm in. And apparently it's right. I want to have the highest amount of calories you can and still lose weight. So I thought it was a bit too high, so I've kind of compromised. So for 5 days of the week, I'm going to follow my FitnessPal's recommendation of calories, and then on the Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to follow their recommendation of calories. So at the weekend, I've got a little bit to play with. So if we go out for lunch, it's not such a terrible thing. So £7.5 off, that's brilliant. I think I'm quite happy with that. I had a treat every day as well. I'm still doing HelloFresh, which I'm really enjoying. I've got another box coming on Friday. We've changed the schedule to be like low calories, and then I've got like at least a roast dinner in each one, which I chose sort of the lower calorie ones, just so that we can have a roast dinner on a Sunday, which would be nice. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it actually. I didn't think I would be. I would be like, oh God, I've got to cook every day. But actually they've done it to make it easy as possible. So it's brilliant. Can't really fault it at all. Anyway, hope you all have a happy Tuesday. I'm hoping to horse ride as long as it doesn't rain, because we've been having a bit of unpredictable weather. So I'm just going to take my kit and hope for the best. And I'll see you later. Bye. So I'd show you dude. Not very happy with me today because I've made him go out in the wind. So he's looking at absolutely every single thing he could possibly look at. Yeah. Because he's a little bit like, everything is very scary, mummy. And I just said to him, it's not scary, it's just wind. We live in England, and you're going to either have rain or you're going to have wind. So, you know. But by the end of winter, he'll be an old pro. Because he'll be like, oh, fuck it, can't be bothered. I mean, we've gone out in hailstorm and thunder and all sorts of stuff. But it's all a bit new again to him, isn't it? Isn't it, dude? Yeah. So we're just having a little ride through a place called Ruxmore. Come on, it's just a cone. Looking at everything. It's all scary, might eat him. Eh? Sign off now. Good boy, Spirit. Da, da, da. Looking at the gate. Looking at the gate. Yeah. Nothing there though, is there? Silly. Some more news from the Trump camp. So now he's saying all the American people can have the drug that he received whilst he was in hospital. And I just can't help but feeling a little bit suspicious because he keeps going on about the pharmaceutical company that made the drug and how they've made thousands and thousands of this drug. And it just makes me wonder, what's in it for them? And the whole thing just smells of lies and bullshit. And I can't help but wonder, was this all completely fake and a setup? Did he really even have COVID? Or does he even really have COVID? I just don't know now. I'm kind of like, I smell a rat. And he is a bit of a rat anyway. So, yeah, I'm not sure about this, guys. I'm really not. And it just smells of a stunt, like a political stunt, because he's not doing well in the polls. He hasn't been doing very well. And the vice presidential debate last night was clearly won by Camilla, because she just was so articulate, and Pence is about as articulate as a pencil. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being unfair, but I don't think so. I just think the whole thing smells, and I just keep thinking there's a lot of this going on in the background. Money, 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 money. A lot of that. I suppose we shall see. Because if he's really got COVID, then the doctors are saying that the treatment that he had was way too early, and actually that should have been left for, the disease's progression. And it could be that he might be in for a rough ride, considering that the storm part of the virus is nowhere near this sort of timeline. Normally it's around 10 days if it's going to happen. So let's hope I'm wrong and he's not really a lying twat. Hey, hi there, it's Saturday. So I had such a strange dream last night. I slept a lot longer than I normally do. Normally I'm up quite early with the dogs, but they all got on the bed this morning about 8 o'clock, and then the warmth of them just sent me back off to sleep, and I was asleep until like 10:40. But God, did I have such a strange dream. First of all, I had a weird dream about my dad, and that he was basically helping me get a boat to help me get home, which was really strange. My dad's passed away, and I do sometimes see him in dreams. It's a bit bizarre. Sometimes it really feels like it is him talking to me. It's just really, really, really strange. Anyway, we ended up, bizarrely, in some sort of big park kind of complex, and we were kind of exploring the buildings, and we came upon this building that looked like a massive cafe, and we went in and we realised that it was like a massive cable car, and I didn't realise that we were up so high, but obviously part of my dream was a bit muffled or whatever you. Anyway, so me and Chris decided to get into the cable car, even though we're both terrified of heights, which is kind of like a bizarre situation in itself. And off we go in the cable car. It's so vivid. The cable car was like gently swaying. We were both going, oh God, this is quite scary. Because we both don't really like being in heights or anything. So anyway, the cable car sets off, and we're up really, really high. And in the far distance, we can see what looks like a massive city. And as we're sort of coming close to the city, we get like a tannoy speaker person say that some battalion, Air Force something is going to buzz us soon because it's the anniversary of something. And then literally we both look behind us because the cable car is like all glass, and we look behind us and we can see this huge like V of huge airplanes with kind of like rainbow smoke coming out behind them, and they buzz the top of the cable cars to make the cable cars sway more. So of course we're going, wow, that's so cool, and oh my God, we're like rocking. And then as we get close to the city, I sort of get the impression that we're in a place like futuristic, a bit more futuristic than we currently are. But the buildings are really tall and wide, and everything has got like loads of space, almost like Star Trek London-y kind of thing. But I got the impression it was kind of more Chicago-y area, like America area. But it reminded me of the sort of the way the buildings looked was a bit like the Star Trek films, you know, the modern ones, the Next Generation ones. Anyway, the cable car is kind of like taking a tour of the city with us, and it keeps stopping at relative places and saying, oh, this is where Queen played, and it shows you this building and it tells you all the history of it, and then the cable car carries on and goes to like another building and another building, and it just keeps all this history. And then in the end we end up in this like what feels like a big church thing, and it's telling you about all the history of the church and everything. And we both get out of the cable car, and we know that if we get back in the cable car it'll take us back where we came from, but in order to see it properly we have to kind of get out. And then we sort of come out on, it's still quite sort of dark and like dingy and things, and we sort of come out, and then to the right of us is like what looks like a medieval cathedral. It's like huge, but it has kind of an almost Harry Potter creepy feel to it, and there's massive stairs, huge wide stairs going up to this place. It's real gargoyle-y and medievally and quite spooky looking. And then this big army just of people like who are kind of almost elven and orcishy and all that start marching down the stairs, and then they kind of like are almost shouting a war cry kind of thing, and they all kind of turn into like elves and witches, and there's all this like green like spiritual ether sort of coming off them and flowing away, and smoke, and as they turn into these things, and I don't feel like afraid or anything, I'm just like in awe. I'm like, wow, kind of thing. And then to my left, a massive Chinese subway train suddenly appears, and it's like got dragons all over it, and it's got like silver, and it's just like a beautiful big subway train. And then in front of us there's like a load of crowd of people, what looks like a marketplace. And then everybody was like buying, who was in the cable car with us, because it's like kind of touristy feel, kind of buying things from the market stall. And then this one stall starts shouting like really loud and saying, and it had all cakes and things, cookies and meringues and things all over it. And then this woman starts saying, oh, if you've eaten this meringue, then you've eaten Karen, and all this kind of thing. And in my brain, in my dream brain, my brain was thinking that Karen was from Will and Grace, which is so bizarre. It was really bizarre. And everybody's like in shock and horror because loads of people have eaten this stuff. And I'm stood there with Chris, and I've got my handbag and everything. And my handbag seems to be really heavy and full of papers for some strange reason. And I turn to Chris and I give him the handbag, and I storm over to this stall of the marketplace, and I look at the person, and I literally start grabbing all the cakes and throwing them at her. And then there's this cake in the centre, and I pick up the cake and I literally go smack right in her face with the cake. So I hit her with the cake, and then I see that there's bottles of milk on the floor, glass bottles of milk on the floor, and I pick up the milk and I start throwing it at the wall, so all the glass is breaking and the milk's flying everywhere, and I just keep throwing all this stuff at this person who's now got a big cake stuck to their face. And then I turn round and then I look back at them with like disgust and disdain, and I go literally, and I say this, that's for Karen, you cunt, like that. And then I walk over to Chris, who stood there with the handbag like this, and everybody starts cheering me because I've done this. And then I woke up. How weird is that? How strange is that dream? But the thing is that as much as I can explain it to you, it was like really vivid, and there was loads of detail in there that I can't explain all of it. There was just tons of really intense detail in there, and it was so vibrant and colourful. And it was just very, very, very strange. Very strange.